Welcome to the Life Begins at Midlife podcast, where we pop the champagne to celebrate the unexplored joys and endless adventures that await us in the midlife. Flipping the script on what it means to hit those fabulous 40s, 50s and beyond. Because here, we don't believe in midlife crises, only midlife revolutions. Reminding you that the only thing we're letting go of at midlife is the notion that it's all downhill from here. Nope, we're here to climb higher, dream bigger, and laugh louder. Each week, we'll dive into the myths, share the truths, and unlock the secrets to making the midlife years your best years yet. From rediscovering lost passions to embarking on new adventures, we're covering it all. Expect candid conversations with inspiring guests who've turned their midlife years into their most dynamic chapter yet. We're talking to everyone from entrepreneurs who've launched successful startups from their kitchen tables to adventurers who decided age is just a number when it comes to climbing mountains or sailing the seas. So if you've ever found yourself pondering, is this all there is? Or you're just eager to embrace the richness of midlife with both arms wide open, then you, my friend, are in the right place. Grab your favorite drink, get cozy, and let's show the world that life doesn't just begin at 20, it begins again at midlife. And remember, in the Life Begins at Midlife podcast, the only rule is to live confidently, love unconditionally, and laugh uncontrollably. Let's get started. So hello and welcome to today's episode of Life Begins at Midlife. We have an exciting guest in the studio today, Rachel Maria Bell, the resident astrologer in my life, and she's become a good friend as well. And I'd just like you all to give her a warm welcome. And lovely to have you with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me here and to be on your podcast today, Jackie.
It's lovely to have you. So, Rachel, tell us a little bit about you and how you got into being an astrologer, because I know that's not something you've been doing for a very long, openly out as a business for a very long time.
No, that's true. I began my astrology business in February 2020 after having a profound awakening to the planets. Literally, my spiritual awareness took on a whole different dimension, and I literally started visiting the planets, at which point I remembered and knew my calling as an astrologer. But I had actually had astrology as one of my favourite hobbies and areas of interest since I was 16. So by that point, I had conducted many charts, but kept it kind of secret. You know, I'd just been studying and enjoying it and using astrology as a lens for understanding human behaviour and psychology. But then what I didn't expect to happen was that I would then take my spiritual awareness and awakening to it. I visited planet Uranus. I literally came back and went, oh, that's it. It was like clicking into awareness. I went, oh, that's it. I become an astrologer, and I set my business up within a week. And I ran that part-time alongside still doing digital marketing for tech companies, which was obviously a very different area of work. And yeah, so, you know, I used to be a business lecturer and performance and leadership trainer. And now since 2022, I then made this declaration, right, I'm going full time with this business. I back myself to do it. So I work with all sorts of people, mainly spiritually awakened, conscious, heart-led leaders who are looking for even more unlocking of their superpowers.
Gosh, that sounds amazing, and must be so interesting speaking to so many different people and helping them understand who they are meant to be on this planet.
Absolutely. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the astrological chart is such a powerful soul declaration that our soul's already made. It's like, you know, when we say the phrase written in the stars, it's like these are your soul's original intentions for this lifetime. This is what you already agreed to be and do, and everything you called into being for your life purpose and what you wanted to expand into. So yeah, it's like it's there, it's written in the chart. But of course, I then use my psychic gifts as well to just channel extra information for that unique celebration of individual person.
Yes, and I think, so many of us have led a life, based on social constructs and things that society have imposed upon us. And we've lost sight of the true reason why we've, incarnated into this time and place. And I think it's important for us to, have that person like yourself to be able to help us understand and get back in touch with, the real reason, I think.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And like that deconditioning process is so real. And, I walked that path myself of having to like do that unlocking, the unraveling of the unbinding of, hang on, who is Rachel? Like, what did she come here to do and be? And then, I would have memories of, as an 8-year-old, sitting on the floor at home with a blank piece of paper, sitting up and just going, why do I keep drawing circles and dividing it into 12, not knowing what to put in the boxes? I put little musical notes in. Well, it was like, because I kind of forgotten. I remembered half of it, but it was like I didn't yet know to put planets in there. So I think it was always, there were lots of signals that I've sent myself through memories and through just enacting about what it was that I was supposed to be doing. And I think when you feel like you're fully unlocked in your purpose, it's so like, yeah, this is me, that then it feels like a full steam ahead, as opposed to the whole trying to figure out who am I and what am I doing from the confines of the mental constructs.
Well, that's it. It's coming out of the head and back into the heart or into the soul again, and just being who we meant to be. And when we get to that point, it's it doesn't feel like a struggle anymore, because I think when you are often in your head, everything could potentially feel like hard work.
Oh, absolutely. And just to acknowledge as well that we all go through those periods of remembrance and forgetting, or expansion and contraction, and 5D, 3D, the bumps in the road are really real. So even if you've had like a really profound awakening, it's almost like kind of going, oh yeah, that's my destination. And then going, oh, hang on a minute, life's still a journey. We've still got to navigate all of these spirals and cycles, and just giving ourselves a little bit of space and grace to do that.
Absolutely. And sometimes when you get that vision and that understanding of what you are here for, sometimes it feels so enormous.
Yeah.
And to be able to then you know keep that vision, that enormity of it, and that powerfulness of that, but then still be in your day-to-day life and try and work out how am I going to get from where I am now, let's
Yeah.
use the phrase little old me, where I am now, to this amazingness that I can see ahead of me. And I think that's where a lot of people tend to then go, back into think, oh, it's just too big. I don't know how to do it. And they contract back and get caught up in their day-to-day lives, because
Yeah.
it's just scary.
Yeah. And also, when you're seeing these massive visions and your own amazingness and your own potential, your own expansion, you're seeing it on a higher dimensional level where there is no time. And therefore, so for example, for me, it was 2017 when I was sitting at my kitchen table going, I can see the book that I write. And then when I brought that back into my everyday life, I was like, what the hell's the book about? And I had so many iterations of the book until a little while later when I went, oh my goodness, I'm living the plot line. What the heck? And then kind of going, let's tune back into that vision, which felt absolutely amazing. And yet it came with no timeline. Okay. So the time for that is just allowing those periods of expansion and contraction to happen until the birthing pains are over, and it's there. And we have attuned ourselves to be the vibrational match, to be it in the 3D, as well as live it on all levels.
No, that's then when your monkey mind comes into play again and says, but that's not how the normal life works, you know. And then you get caught up into that whole spiral again of thinking, oh, but that's not going to work like that. I can't do that, and it's.
And you're absolutely right. I do feel that, yeah, and you know that trust and surrender, you know all these things. But then that is where astrology can be so powerful, because when we look at a chart, I'm able to say to somebody, oh, do you know what? You're going through this Saturn cycle at the minute. Saturn is going to put the brakes on everything. So you're going to feel like there's a contraction. You're going to feel like, but I've got to set my stall out in my everyday life. Human me steps into play for a little bit. I've got to create the stability. I've got to learn the lessons. I've got to take the lessons that I need as human me. Maybe there's this period of adjustment as I recover, calm my nervous system, all the things, you know? And that's where it can be so powerful to have astrology to just say, it's okay. You've got this period of this particular transit, and this will lift in August or whatever, because it really takes that weight off the minds of people who are able to see these enormous visions, and they have a sense that they've got a big mission to fulfill. And marrying that up with the 3D lived reality, yeah, it can be a challenge big time. And we all do go through many, many tests along the way. And I know that when we talked about me coming here to chat today, we were talking about the astrology of midlife. And there are so many of these transits that affect us all. None of us escapes these transits, but what we make of them can look so different for each of us.
Absolutely. And I think, like you mentioned, if we know it's not going to be a forever thing, that it's only going to be for a period of time, we know that it's okay to go through that. But if you don't know and you just all of a sudden hit that period of, I don't want to do anything, I want to just retract.
Yeah.
You think, what's wrong with me? I need to sort this out. I need to get some help, or I need to pull myself together and get out of it. Whereas if you know that it's meant to be a period of, going within potentially, or just taking some time out and consolidating, or whatever it might be, and that when that cycle changes and it moves on to the next one, that's when you then can do what the next phase of it. But without knowing that,
Yeah.
you're always shooting and doing all those things.
Exactly. And then you're kind of your mental chatter to yourself kind of diminishes things further. So allowing ourselves to go, do you know what? This is okay. I am meant to be going through this particular phase of life right now. Let's just tune into what those vibrations mean for me. Let's work with the cosmos, assuming and kind of embodying and knowing that we are part of this same universe. Nobody is exempt. Shall we look at some of those?
Yes, that'll be lovely.
It won't, it will be awful, but it might be illuminating. And before I say it, these astrological transits of midlife, they can really hit people like a ton of bricks, depending on how out of alignment we have become with our soul's original purpose and mission. And just to say that some of us may have chosen to trundle along on a train of on the wrong destination so that we can powerfully be brought back on track into where we're supposed to be going. The course correction can be quite dramatic in some people's cases. So the first one is Pluto square Pluto. So when we are born, at the moment of our birth, we all have this imprint. You know, the planets are, it's like a snapshot. So our birth chart is like a snapshot of what the planets were doing at that moment when we chose to take our first breath in this amazing incarnation. And we carry that as an imprint within our energy field for the whole of our lives. And of course, we grow and evolve, and we learn to play our own symphony of how those planets express through us at all moments. And when we arrive at the point where Pluto, that's moving slow as he does, where Pluto is transiting in the sky, when he matches up in an exact square, which is a 90-degree aspect and angle to our natal, or rather inner Pluto, it's kind of creating this enormous tension. So it's like a right angle, but there's nothing right about it. It's so challenging. A square goes, what have you not been doing or seeing? And it's, you know, when people say, oh, they're having a midlife crisis, I would say, somebody's probably having a Pluto square Pluto moment.
It's a much better way of putting it, I think.
Yeah. So when people come into contact with their own, oh my God, I've been living out of alignment, with Pluto, it often shows up as, because Pluto rules power and control and transformation and life and death, the big stuff. Dwarf planet that packs a punch. So because it's really, really powerful, Pluto will raise up within us anything that has been out of alignment with power, control, power victim control dynamics. It might raise up within us any unhealed trauma that we've not been looking at. It might make us super angry. There might be an inner rage that wants to be expressed. Any of these things are utterly, utterly common. There may be injustices perpetrated against us, and quite often it can feel like that's coming from an outside threat or source, because square energy feels like it's coming from external. But of course, if we take the view that everything is a mirror to allow us to see the self, which we only do when we've been through a hell of a lot of inner work and chosen to take full personal responsibility, when we choose to see that as a reflection of who am I, then we start to think, we do that unraveling, we dig beneath the surface. So Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. We activate our Scorpio energy. We go digging for what is beneath. We go into the underworld. We take a look at that shadow. We take a look at, where have I been out of alignment? Where have I been pretending that I'm the goodie and calling other people the baddie? Where have we repressed ourselves? Where have we been told to shut down a whole host of emotions, and we get to splurge them up? And, you know, it can come up in many, many different ways. We might experience it as a rumble from within. We might experience it as a complete, pardon my language, shit show in our lives. But something will basically come up to the surface. Now, this transit goes on for 18 months to 2 years, and it's very powerful to look in our lives as to when that happened. It will be normally sometime between when we are 37 and 40. It can be pinpointed exactly. So for all of the people who were born around 1984, you guys are going through it right now. And for those of us who were a little bit older than that, we probably went through this whole thing, 6 to 8 years ago. And perhaps you might resonate with going through a particular shit show in your life.
Yeah, I think I can pinpoint that. Maybe I wouldn't call it necessarily a shit show. I would have called it Yeah, a bit of a transformation and yeah,
Absolutely.
complete change of change of life.
Yeah. But people do
But while I
powerful.
was going through it, it might have felt like a shit show. But looking back on it and thinking, oh, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it depends on what we go through as to whether we feel like we're experiencing a death, because we will be. There will be a death to some part of us, or a death to a part of our physical life. There may be something that ends, a relationship might end, a phase of our life might end. We might move, physically move. We might move jobs. We might move careers. We might move physical location. Or it might be an inner transformation where we say, that part of me that used to be, I don't know, people pleaser or whatever, no, had enough of that. I reclaim my sovereign power. Boom, watch me now. But often it's much more of a deep inner transformation that we go through. And people will, it may be a dark night of the soul, as people call it. It may be coming face to face with our own limitations to allow that part of ourselves to die off so that we may rise like the phoenix from the ashes and make that new declaration of independence of who am I now? And we keep going through these different iterations of who am I now? And the purpose will be that by the end of that transit, Pluto square Pluto, that we emerge polished with less of that conditioning, with less of society wrapped around us, and more of our true being shining through.
I think that's probably why when we go through that change or that transition, why you often hear people say, "Oh, she's changed. She's become a lot less tolerant, or she's become grumpy now," which is their interpretation of, you might be pushing back on things that they're wanting you to do, but because you've put your boundaries in place and you're no longer that people pleaser, all of a sudden people that have been affected by it classify you as being, this grumpy middle-aged person, when actually you just finally taking your life back.
That's it. And blaming somebody else is far easier than taking control and looking at what we're
Of
supposed to be doing,
course. Yeah, of
right? But
course.
just, nobody, like I said, nobody is exempted these transits. We all go through it, but what we make of it, whether we choose to take full power back and take control of ourselves and decide that we are in control of our boundaries, our thoughts, our emotions, our spiritual power, our emotional power, whether we take control for ourselves or whether we start to try and control others by repressing that, yeah, I think we can see that playing out in different energies.
Absolutely. And when you start looking at the people around you, you can see how things are playing out for them as well without, spending too much time on on analyzing all the people. But you can clearly see when people are embracing the change or whether they, aren't.
Yeah, definitely. And then another transit that is a very different, it has a very different tone to it, a different attunement, is Neptune square to Neptune. So Neptune is like our higher heart. It's what we call the higher octave of Venus. So it's Venus energy, which is, the goddess of love, but it's brought out to the whole of humanity. So it's where we experience oneness and unity and how we experience that and where we decide to pitch our version of spirituality and our beliefs. So when Neptune in the sky is square to Neptune within our inner being, we then go, oh, I've got this test. And it's a Neptune test. So it tests our love. It tests our beliefs. It's a period of saying, did everything that I believed to be true up to this point in my life, how does it hold up to the test of scrutiny now? What can I allow to dissolve? And Neptune, a bit of a sneaky kind of energy, beautiful, but a bit sneaky. Let's remember that I'm getting tongue-tied with it. Neptune is the god of the seas. So it's like the collective ocean. And like I always use the illustration that when we're talking about the collective ocean, there are people at any one point bobbing around, sunning themselves on a yacht. And there are people feeling like they're drowning, looking for an oxygen mask at the bottom of the ocean at any one time. So we don't go through the same thing. Neptune also rules addictions and masking, and where we refuse to see the truth of ourselves. So it's any form of illusion and self-deception. So wherever we have been kidding ourselves, putting on the rose-tinted specs of our lives, we get to take them off and go, oh my God, what have I been allowing? Okay. Or there may be an invitation to just go, shit, this is all just too much. It's all too much. And I'm just going to flail around in this ocean. And that is what I would call spiritual abandonment and chaos. It's where we unravel to the point of going, I don't know anything. You know how at like every layer of awakening we go, the more I know, the less I know. It's that feeling. So what we make of our lives by the end of that transit will also have been tested to a large extent.
No wonder we all go through this amazing transformation.
Absolutely. And then the final one I wanted to mention is Uranus, opposite Uranus. My best friend Uranus. Oh my gosh. Uranus, planet Uranus, takes care of our higher dimensional thinking. So it's what we call the higher octave of planet Mercury. So where Mercury is in charge of our mental constructs and what we think and speak on a human level, Uranus brings in the blast of divine light from beyond and infuses us with higher dimensional thinking. So it's like a shock. It's like a shock to the system. We may feel that we've been blasted by knowing, and the kind of knowing that comes through us channeled like a powerful light of that divine energy that just goes, wow, I cannot unsee what I just saw. I cannot unhear this message. So however we have these experiences, whether it comes through a shock in their life, you know, like in a physical sense, we might be, I don't know, Uranus rules accidents or shocks. You know, we might suddenly be confronted by an affair in our marriage or a car accident, or do you know what I mean? Like these big, powerful events that come through the life, that might put us to our knees or flat on our backs and go, wow, I've had a shock. It could be physical. It could be like a heart attack. Could be, you know, a diagnosis or something. And there are many ways for Uranus to come through us. For other people, it may be like I literally had a visit to planet Uranus and came back and knew that I had to be an astrologer. Okay, that was my Uranus awakening. But I'm not saying that's going to be the same for everyone.
You're going to have created a precedent there. Everyone's going to want to go go and visit the planet.
Yeah, might be a little bit unique. But the thing is, Uranus does rule also changeability, revolution, rebellion. And it makes us go, oh yeah, this is me as a unique being, as a divine celebration of uniqueness. It's the whole this is me declaration on a real powerful blast of light level. And we are forever changed. So that Uranus transit as well, really, really worth knowing about when that is exactly. That normally comes around age 42. And it lasts again for about sort of 1 to 2 years. These are all quite long-term transits because they are outer planets, and the outer planets move very, very slowly. So, for example, Pluto, it goes 7 months forwards and 5 months back. So we get to
That's
really
where the whole thing comes from. I take 2 steps forward, 5 steps back.
exactly. Yeah, totally. So we have that sense of, oh my gosh, why am I revisiting this same lesson again? Well, the planet's going to do what they're going to do until you've grasped it. So we get 3 opportunities. If you think about the aspect, the square aspect, Pluto goes, just taking Pluto as an example, but all of them do this. They go forwards once, back over it again. So that second time is it's like pulling a spring backwards, and we kind of go, oh gosh, I'm really learning that lesson, but that retrograde motion feels like such a pulling it back. What am I learning? What am I learning before we go forwards? And by that third time, you're meant to have grasped it.
Third time lucky.
Yeah.
See all these sayings, how they tie back into it.
Exactly. And we can use astrology to really accurately pinpoint those periods of time. That's not to say that the planets do the work for you. We are human beings who have, we operate in a universe where free will is the modus operandi. It's down to us as individuals to work with the planets, not against it, to work with our own inner divinity, not against it. The planets are there as our friends, okay? This is my view. We can work with our divine power within cosmic energy. We are of this universe as well as in it. And we're also human beings who get to choose, do we do the work? Because the planets are not going to do it for us. We could remain as utterly unenlightened at the end of a transit as we went into it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's using it as a tool, not as a prescription, almost to say, oh, well, my life's really a ball of nonsense at the moment just because my planets aren't aligned properly. That's not the reason.
No, we've still got to take that responsibility. And then, we can have a little bit of help and guidance as to what the F is going on as we work to become the person we already were anyway.
Absolutely. And that, it just helps us find our way back to our soul's purpose and to potentially, well, we might have been happy before, but we'll really be happy when we are fully aligned with who we are meant to be.
Yes, that's when we experience those moments of joy, isn't it? When we come into true contact with, oh yeah, this is me.
Absolutely. That it's like a coming home here, where you like, and things just seem to fall into place so much easier when, I'm not saying life is easy by no means, but just the little things that fall into place, and you think that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have been in the right place and moving in the right direction.
Yes. Yeah, just that constant course correction back into your truthful alignment.
It's amazing. Well, you and I could talk for days without coming up to end. I think we'll wrap it up there for today, and we'll have another conversation, or 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever it is, as we go along. And it was really lovely speaking with you today, and look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to anyone listening.
As we wrap up another episode here at Life Begins at Midlife, we want to take a moment to extend a heartfelt thank you to our sponsor, Jackie Bourne, for Purpose Unleashed. Jackie's commitment to empowering individuals on their journey of self-discovery and transformation truly aligns with the spirit of our show. Whether you're navigating the challenges of midlife, seeking clarity on your next steps, or simply looking to live a more fulfilled life, Purpose Unleashed offers the guidance, tools, and support you need to turn your aspirations into reality. For those of you feeling stuck or at a crossroads, remember, it's never too late to redefine your path and embrace the life you've always dreamed of. Visit Purpose Unleashed website to discover how you can start your transformative journey today. Let Jackie be your guide to a more vibrant, purpose-driven life. You can find this link to the website in the show notes below. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in and sharing your time with us. Remember, every day is a new opportunity to grow, to love, and to make a difference. Until next time, keep striving, keep dreaming, and keep listening.